Sending your sensitive conversations to public AI servers is a liability. Every time you prompt a public cloud model, your private information leaves your device. At AX Lab, we believe that some conversations should always remain private. Today, you will learn how to make public from the cloud AI dependency. We are running an AI model completely offline on your local machine using llama CPP. No data leaks, no hidden subscriptions, completely local sovereignty in under 3 minutes. Large language models like Mistral's Devstral are massive. Traditionally, they require thousands of dollars in industrial hardware just to boot up. Llama CCP is a masterfully engineered software framework written entirely in C and C++. It modifies these heavy models so they can run with extreme efficiency on everyday consumer hardware, like your personal device. For you, this eliminates the black box risk. Your data remains entirely on your own device. This architecture allows you to deploy secure, task-based AI automation that you own, control, and can audit natively. Started. First, we will need to clone the GitHub repository for Llama CCP, which you can find here. This will bring a copy of it to our local folder. Once this is done downloading, we will cd into this path. We first need to compile the C and C++ code into something that specifically your machine's hardware capabilities can manage and run. Let's get through that. This would enable the CUDA, and it would allow you for you to use your GPU when running your local model. However, for now, we're going to be running the model completely in the CPU. So the next step would be now let's see if we can start it up. We're going to be using a quantized version of the Ministral model, which is one of my favorite models lately. Let's check it out. There we are. We have AI out. Let's give it a simple prompt so we can see which performance looks like local. And as you see, it's the exact model that we prompted. It's obviously going to be a little slow as it's running completely on your machine, but as we see, not so bad. Completely on CPU without GPU to help it run any faster. 12 tokens per second, pretty good. And as you see, this is a pretty powerful model that provides some well-detailed response. There you have it. Today, we're going to be going over how to create and run your own Docker image. In our last video, we went over how to install and set up Docker on your own device. If you haven't seen that yet, we recommend you pause and check it out. Today, we're going to be going over how to create your own Docker image to run your own AI local models. All right, let's get started. The first step is to clone the GitHub repository that already has our project inside of it. This is a public repository that you can find in our GitHub. You can find the link in the description or in our bio. So go check that out, but we'll also include it in the video. I'm going to go ahead and do git clone and then the name of the repository. And it's going to make a copy of it in your local folder. So see, now we have the repository saved here in our folder. Our last step is going to be to create our environment file. This is going to include two things. It's going to include our debug mode, which is going to be true for now, and it's going to include our secret key. Our secret key is just that, secret. So let's start by creating the environment first, which we did. Doesn't need any extensions. This is how it's going to look. First thing you're going to include is the debug equals true. And the secret key. We're going to post a fake secret key just so you could see what it would look like once you put your real secret key here, exactly like project. So if you go ahead and you type this in your terminal, which we will include below, you can run this and it will give you the secret key that you're going to use. Obviously, we're not going to show you our secret key, but once it outputs a secret key here, you can then just take that key, paste it over there, and you're good. For how you can run our local open source model called Daemon using your own compute while still taking advantage of API keys from large language models such as Mistral's Destro. In our last video, we went over how you can install Docker, and in the video after that, we went over how you can run and initialize your own Docker image. So if you haven't checked out those two videos, I would recommend you do so. As you see today, we've already got our Docker going. We've already got everything set up. So we're going to go ahead and go through the steps of setting up our platform. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have to go ahead and create a super user. This is a Django app, so let's go ahead and do that. The first thing that they're going to ask us to create a super user is a username. It comes up usually with your username that you are logged into the computer with. I'm going to put my own. I'm going to ask you for an email. And then it's going to ask you for a password twice. And just like that, our super user is created. So let's go check it out. We're going to go see if we can log into our admin page of this website that we've just now hosted in our Docker. So we've created our super user. And as you see, there we are. Alright, now that we have a super user, let's go ahead and start onboarding our local models. So we already have a model set up, so we're going to do a new model. And we're going to go to bots, new model, and we're going to add the connection here. So the name could be whatever we'd like it to be. We are going to give it this name because that's the model that we are going to be using based on what we have in our local Llama server. The base is going to be our local host, which we already know this. And the model API key, we're just going to put an asterisk. Let's go ahead and create that. And now we go ahead and create a new model chat. So that go ahead and create a new model chat so we could go ahead and chat with this model. This is the model we've just created. We're going to pick ourselves and we're going to call it testing, just so that we can see what is going on. Alrighty, now that this is going, we can go ahead and switch over to our chats, and we should now see we have both our model going and we are able to chat with it now. The only thing that we're still missing is our personality. So the models do use their own personality, so we have to go ahead and create one of those before we can actually use it. Our model works. We go back to our chat. And here we are. We should be able to make new chats to our local model. So let's try that out. Now that we've got everything set up, let's do an example use case of why it's so useful to have this model working for us. So let's start with picking up a local file that's going to have some private information of ours. This Now that we know that the file does include some personal information, let's see what we can do about this. So one of the features that we've embedded into Daemon is that it includes a summarize button. So when we click this, it should now go ahead and try to summarize our chat, both to minimize our token usage, but also to separate the information from the chat that is private and that information which is not. So that now when we make a new message to our a model that is in an API, because we've added a new model that is not going to be local, that's going to be in an API, we can make these calls there without them having access to the private information we've just created. So let's first check out what our information looks like. First of all, we do see here that we have a summary of all the information that was included, but importantly, we don't see anything that was private. We don't see the personal phone number or the email that was included there. On the other hand, now, if we go to the private side, we should be able to see all that private information saved here. Now, what we can do is we could go back to the chat just to see how we could take advantage of this. So, as I mentioned earlier, one of the things I added here was I added an outside model. I added the Mistral model. So now what we're going to try to do is try to ask it some questions to see if this model can now see that private information that we've just shown to be private. We do see it appear in the messages, so let's see how this works. It's going now to the API. It shouldn't be going to our local model. And as you see, it is now asking these questions. Even though that we could see up here that clearly it had the context earlier, it no longer has access to this. Why? Once we summarized everything, the local chat only retains what is in the general summary, not in the private summary. That way you can continue to interact with other models that might not be in your local computer, that might not have access to your private information, and still take advantage of these other models that might be in an API. That is why you should be using our tool Daemon. It is open source, it is free. You could go ahead into our GitHub and download it today. Thank you, everyone. To like and subscribe to stay ahead of the innovation curve, and visit axiomaticlab.com today.